Happy New Year. Happy New Year. 2026. Can you imagine that? I never thought about the year 2026. I'm sure I'll be writing 2025 for a while. I'm sure you can identify with that, right? Wow. Well, ringing in a new year gives us a scheduled, if you will, fresh start. It's sort of this automatic thing. It's scheduled into our calendars. It gives us an opportunity to pause, to consider what has happened in the last year, the events in our lives, the events in our church, the decisions that we have made. And hopefully we spend some time reflecting on what we have learned from all of those things. And then when we do that, when we reflect, that impacts how we might live and be in the coming year. Those reflections and learnings help us to set our intentions on how to live in the upcoming year. And so many of us do that individually, right? How many of you do that on an individual basis a little bit? Maybe not necessarily do resolutions, but intentions for the year. Sometimes we might do that as a family or with the people that we love. And I think it's important for us collectively as a church to consider the things that happened in our life and ministry in 2025 and to set intentions for our life together as a congregation for 2026. And so in this short time that we have together today, I cannot possibly share all of the good things that happened within our life and ministry in 2025. We would be here all day. We're not going to do that. But I would like to highlight a few things that I think speak to our health as a congregation, and our ability to grow as we continue on in 2026. And so the first thing I would mention is that in a spirit of unity and in seeing and in seeking Christ's kingdom above any of our denominational identities, in March, we welcomed the Lakewood Baptist congregation into our building. And you all, your gift of hospitality, your gift of embrace really shone, really shined. I'll get the correct English on that. It really shined very clearly in this endeavor. The pastoral team of Pastor Jonathan with the Baptist Church, our pastoral team here at Lakewood United Methodist Church, we all prayed diligently, and we prayed that this initial collaboration would go well, that we would build a strong foundation for future ministry. And I have to tell you, it has gone much more smoothly than I had ever anticipated or hoped or imagined. And I personally see that those ecumenical partnerships and collaborative ministries with different congregations, with different denominations, really is the future of the church. Not just our local church here on the corner of Summit and Detroit, but the future of the universal church. And we are here creating a model, really, for how that can happen, how that can be done, to show others how that can be done. So that's a great thing that has happened within our lives and faith in 2025. Sure, there have been some hiccups, some bumps in the road in this budding relationship, and there's certainly more that we can do to strengthen our relationship with the Baptists. Both congregations value our denominational identities. We don't want to merge the two churches down the road. That's not the intent at all. But together, both churches can pay a little more attention to the language that we use about our ministries so that we are not exclusive in our denominational things, that we are welcome of all people, that we create a community of welcome for everyone. So that's an intention for 2025, to pay attention to that language that we use in our ministries together to ensure that all are welcome. So that's definitely been a positive thing, a highlight for 2025. I look forward to what God is going to do among us in 2026 as we continue to collaborate with the Baptists. Another highlight for 2025 here at Lakewood United Methodist Church is our growth. Our growth, numerically, but also spiritually. Spiritually. In a time when we see division and decline within the church, capital C church, I mean the broader church, here in this place, when there's division and decline, we are seeing unity and increase. In 2025, our in-person worship attendance has had an increase of 11%. 20 people, including 15 confirmation students, became professing members of this congregation, committing to our ministries here in this place. We don't yet have our December numbers or our year-end financials, but at the end of November, our contribution giving, the amount that you all participate in supporting the ministries of the church, was 3% above what was budgeted and what was committed or anticipated, and it was 5% over what had been given in 2024. Now, some people might say, oh, really, just 3% or 5%? I'd be hoping for more than that. And yes, things can always be better, but we can work toward that, but there's movement. There is movement, and it's an increase. It's an increase. And growth, my friends, is not just about the finances of the church. It's not about the number of butts in the seats. Church health, church vitality is so much more than that, of course. Spiritual growth, and engagement in the missions and the ministry and our outreach, those things are important. They're important indicators of the overall health of our church or any congregation, really. And so in 2025, we maintained some of our most important outreach in the community, including our community meals twice a month, serving food to people who are in need, especially when there were cuts in SNAP benefits and an increased number of people experiencing food insecurity. We shared our gift of hospitality with the construction workers, building the 2 new apartment buildings just right over here, right on Detroit. We took them coffee and donuts, provided lunch for them, shared popsicles, lemonade with them on some of those hot days this summer. And this spring, there are going to be 120 new households, 120 new households moving into those apartments. New neighbors for us to love. It's about increase in numbers here, but for us to increase our love of our neighbors, new neighbors for us to love, an opportunity for us that is quite literally right on our doorstep. And we need your help. We need your help, physically, financially, to connect with our neighbors and show them the love of God in Jesus Christ. Other things, carrying on a long-held tradition at this church. Our youth went on a summer mission trip in 2025 to learn and to grow with people in an impoverished community in West Virginia through Appalachian Service Project. And those 18 youth and adults are models for the rest of us. They're models of service. We can learn from their dedication, from giving of themselves. And Peggy is already working. Right, Peggy? Already working on 2026 mission trip. We'll soon learn how we can best support and be a part of those efforts. This, I think, is the most important thing. In 2025, we saw growth in participation in discipleship groups. Discipleship groups are not only our children's and youth and Sunday school classes that happen here after worship on Sunday mornings, but there are other studies that happen throughout the week. We have the new study, the new discipleship group, based on the Chosen series. Where's Barry? Thank you, Barry, for your leadership in that. It was well received, And actually, it was a great way for us to bring the Baptists and the United Methodists and other people who are not part of our church together to better understand the context of Jesus' ministry and to grow in faith and discipleship. Our own individual, our own collective discipleship is a critical part. Our discipleship is a critical part of the mission and ministry of the church, and to build God's kingdom, Christ's kingdom, right here on this corner as well as around the world. Discipleship is critical. We cannot expect this church to grow as a body if each one of us is not growing individually in our own faith. If we are not actively involved in Bible study and regular prayer, before we can make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world, the United Methodist mission statement, before we can make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world, we have to be disciples of Jesus Christ and be open to the Spirit's movement and transformation of our own lives. If you are not actively involved in a group or in individual Bible study, I encourage you to set that as an intention for 2026. We have youth and adult groups that meet after church every Sunday. We also have the pastor's study that meets on Monday nights via Zoom, Tuesday morning in person. The Chosen Study is going to be starting back up again on Tuesday evenings this time around with season 2. Be a part of your own growth in faith. If you want recommendations for individual studies, talk to one of us. We love to talk about these things, right? And more importantly, our desire is to see you grow. Grow in your understanding of faith. Grow in your relationship with God through Jesus Christ. Yep, that's right. Yes, whatever it was, that it's an amen that we are to grow in our relationship with Jesus Christ. 2025 was a good year. It was a good year for the mission and ministry of Lakewood United Methodist Church. God's Spirit has been moving among us, and God has been faithful. God has been faithful. In Lamentations, chapter 3, verses 22 and 23, we read, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Now, I recognize that it is easy for me to quote these two Bible verses as if they are some sort of platitude. We've had a good year, and God has been faithful. But I think it's important for us to really understand what those verses mean. They are a powerful declaration of God's unfailing and steadfast love, God's endless mercies. These verses come from a book called Lamentations, lamenting. Really, it's a book of whining, okay? These verses then emerge from a book that expresses quite poetically the people's grief over the destruction of Jerusalem and their exile into a land that they did not know. The writer says that even in despair, God is loyal and God's love is persistent. That God's mercies are new every morning. Each day, we have the opportunity for renewal, for a fresh start. That God offers us this inexhaustible regardless regardless of past failures or any current hardship. The writer says, great is your faithfulness. It's not just some observation, but it's a truth, a foundational truth. It's a rock to stand on, affirming God's dependable character and God's commitment to the covenant that God made with humanity. The ministry of the church has its ups and downs. It ebbs and flows. Our own individual lives, certainly. I can look out and see some of you who I know have had your ups and downs throughout the year. Our lives ebb and flow. Our faith will ebb and flow. But through it all, God is faithful. God was faithful in 2025, and God will be faithful in 2026 and beyond. This year, 2026, is a special one in our ministry here at Lakewood United Methodist Church. This year, we are celebrating our 150th anniversary. For 150 years, people have gathered on this corner faithfully to celebrate God's faithfulness. Now, next Sunday really is the official kickoff of the anniversary year. We're going to have a combined service in the sanctuary. The Impact Band will be playing, as well as the choir singing. It's going to be a great celebration of our church and its ministries. The Reverend Deb Gorman will be preaching. She grew up in this church. She was nurtured here and then sent out into ministry. We'll worship together. We're going to have a soup and salad supper or luncheon afterwards down in Daniels Hall. Martha Gubernath is going to give us a brief presentation on the beginnings of our church. Our theme for the year is faithful then, faithful now, faithful forever. That refers to God's faithfulness to us, most certainly, but also to our faithfulness to God. In 1876, in 2026, and forever. During our anniversary year, much like we do on the cusp of a new year, we will have opportunities to look back at our accomplishments. Knowing our past is important. We can learn from it, both the good and the bad, the ebbs and flows. But we can't stay there. We can't go back. We need to be grounded and understand our current realities and then move forward into the future, confident in God's overflowing goodness and God's unfailing faithfulness.